So imagine you are standing right in the middle of your living room just after a massive earthquake.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and you are just frantically patching up the cracked drywall, sweeping up all the shattered glass, maybe trying to brace a sagging roof. It's this all-consuming, desperate effort to fix what is clearly broken right in front of your eyes.
Right. The immediate danger.
Exactly. But in all that panic, you haven't checked the foundation. And here is the brutal reality of structural engineering, right?
Yeah.
You can have the most beautifully repaired walls in the world, but if that foundation crumbles, I mean, you lose the entire house.
You lose everything. Yeah. And, when a medical crisis strikes a family, our collective human instinct is to focus entirely on that visible devastation.
All right, the drywall.
Exactly like the drywall.
Yeah.
If a loved one receives a Parkinson's diagnosis, the gravitational pull of the whole medical system and really all of your family's emotional energy, it just instantly centers on the person with the disease.
Which makes sense, of course.
It does, but the person providing the care becomes almost invisible, sometimes even, to themselves.
Yeah, and that brings us to our focus today. We're doing a deep dive into a really massive stack of clinical and psychosocial data surrounding Parkinson's disease. But our mission for this deep dive is, well, it's hyper-focused.
Very targeted today.
Right. We are not looking at the latest drug trials or, the progression of motor symptoms for the patient. We are looking exclusively at you, the care partner.
Because Parkinson's is a family disease.
Exactly. If you, the care partner, are destroyed in the process of providing care, the entire support structure we just talked about inevitably collapses. The foundation gives out.
And neurologists and psychosocial researchers have really recognized that this is not just some secondary issue. It is the central pillar of long-term disease management.
It's the whole ballgame.
It really is. Caregiving in the context of chronic progressive illness like Parkinson's it's a marathon, not a sprint. To survive it, we have to look at the biological and emotional reality of what happens when you fail to protect your own quality of life.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the clinical literature defines this reality through this concept called the caregiver burden continuum.
Yes, the continuum.
Right, which maps out this silent shift from manageable stress all the way to complete exhaustion. If we go back to our earthquake metaphor, stage 1 of this continuum is stress.
Just the initial stress.
Yeah. I actually like to think of it like a smartphone battery. Stage 1 is that 20% low battery warning. It's like those microscopic hairline fractures forming in the concrete foundation. You might experience occasional irritability, you constantly feel rushed, or you start noticing minor sleep disruptions.
Right, you're still holding the house up, but the structural integrity is just beginning to take a hit.
Exactly. So what happens if you just ignore that 20% warning?
Well, if you ignore those microfractures and you make no changes to your routine, you slide directly into stage 2, which is defined clinically as strain.
The 10% critical red zone.
Yeah, that's where the concrete actively begins to bow and shift. Background apps start shutting down, to use your phone analogy.
Yeah.
Emotionally, you start experiencing persistent guilt, resentment, and just profound social withdrawal.
Like you stop calling your friends back.
Right, you stop going to the gym. But the physical indicators at this stage are what truly sound the alarm. Care partners in the strain stage start developing chronic aches.
Oh, like lower back pain.
Severe lower back pain, especially from physically lifting or assisting their partner without proper core support. And we also see a measurable, documented decrease in the immune system's effectiveness.
Meaning you just start catching every single cold that circulates.
Exactly. Your body is losing its defenses.
And if that strain isn't mitigated, you hit stage 3, which is burnout. The screen goes completely black.
The catastrophic structural failure.
Right. The psychological data describes this stage as total emotional numbness, profound depression, and just feelings of absolute hopelessness.
And significant physical decline.
Yeah, driven by chronic compounding sleep deprivation. The numbers here are wild. Between 40 and 70% of care partners eventually experience clinical depression at this stage.
It's a staggering statistic.
It is, but I actually have to push back on this progression a little bit.
Okay, go ahead.
When you deeply love someone, isn't the natural human instinct to just push through the stress? I mean, they are the one with the incurable degenerative disease.
Right, the instinct is to be the martyr.
Exactly. Shouldn't you just put your head down, absorb the stress, and take the hit for them? Because you love them.
What's fascinating here is that the medical reality directly contradicts that deeply ingrained instinct.
Wait, really? Contradicts it how?
Because pushing through doesn't just make you tired. It physically destroys your body at the cellular level.
Oh,
Yeah, research shows that care partners who adopt that martyr mindset face a dramatically higher than average incidence of heart disease, hypertension, and severe immune system suppression.
because your body is essentially marinating in stress hormones around the clock, right?
Exactly. Cortisol and adrenaline. These are evolutionary mechanisms designed for acute short-term crises.
Like running from a bear.
Right. They're meant to flood your system so you can run away from a predator for 10 minutes. They were never designed to be constantly circulating through your bloodstream for a 10-year chronic illness.
That makes so much sense.
Prolonged cortisol exposure literally suppresses your lymphocytes. Those are the white blood cells that fight off infection, and it increases inflammation in your cardiovascular system.
So it's not just feeling sad or tired.
No, not at all. We have to stop viewing emotional distress and exhaustion in caregiving as a failure of character or some lack of love. It's a biological reality. You simply cannot outlove human physiology.
Wow. You cannot outlove human physiology. That's powerful. But, knowing that cortisol is slowly breaking down your body doesn't actually help when your husband or wife still needs help getting out of bed tomorrow morning.
Right. The practical reality is still there.
You can't just flip a switch and turn off the stress. So what is the biological circuit breaker here? How do you actually actively intervene to stop that slide down the continuum?
Well, the intervention requires an entirely different approach to your daily routine. It relies heavily on radical self-care. Medical professionals refer to this as the oxygen mask rule.
Like on an airplane.
Exactly. It's the safety briefing on every commercial flight. You must secure your own oxygen mask before assisting others. In the context of Parkinson's, your partner is genuinely only doing as well as you are doing.
If you're passing out, you can't help them put their mask on?
Exactly. If you are gasping for air, you are unable to provide any meaningful support.
So applying that oxygen mask means ruthlessly maintaining your own physical health. I mean, do not postpone your own routine medical checkups. You have to treat your doctor appointments with the exact same urgency and non-negotiable status as your partner's neurology visits.
Absolutely non-negotiable.
And exercise is explicitly prescribed here too, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
walking, jogging, yoga.
Yes, and it's not a luxury to go to the gym. It is a required medical intervention to release those stress-reducing endorphins and build the core physical strength you need to avoid that debilitating back pain we talked about.
Right, so you don't break your back lifting them. But beyond just the physical maintenance, the clinical data really emphasizes the absolute necessity of scheduled breaks, which they call respite.
Yes, respite is crucial.
And this cannot be something you do organically if you just happen to find some free time on a Sunday afternoon. Respite must be treated as a strict medical appointment.
You have to put it on the calendar.
In ink. Whether it's 1 hour a day, a specific afternoon every week, or one full day a month, you have to protect that time fiercely.
And to get that respite, you have to be able to accept help, which is very hard for people.
It is. And here's where it gets really interesting. The psychosocial data highlights this major, often invisible pitfall when it comes to delegating tasks.
Oh, the vague offers of help.
Yes, we all have those well-meaning friends and neighbors who say, hey, let me know if you need anything.
Right, which sounds nice.
It sounds super nice, but giving a care partner a vague offer of help like that is like handing them a completely blank menu at a restaurant and telling them to order.
That is such a great way to put it.
It actually creates more work. Now the exhausted caregiver has to invent a task, manage the logistics of that task, and then navigate the guilt of imposing on someone.
The cognitive load of delegating is just exhausting when your brain is already running on empty.
So how do we fix that?
The strategy to bypass this is to assign a specific micro-mission.
Micro-mission, I like that.
Yeah. So when someone offers that vague help, you look at a pre-made list on your fridge and say, actually, could you take Frank to the barber every other Tuesday?
Yep. Oh, that's brilliant.
Right. You remove the mental friction entirely. You give them a clear objective.
Yeah.
And you guarantee yourself a recurring 2-hour window of respite.
And building that backup team, trusted friends, family members, maybe adult day programs, or professional in-home aides, that is one of the greatest predictors of longevity in caregiving.
It absolutely is.
Because it protects your mental health. It allows you to maintain your own social circle and your own hobbies completely outside of the Parkinson's bubble. You have to exist as an individual.
You do. Protecting your physical energy and your time is vital, but protecting the actual dynamic, the core identity of the relationship between you and your loved one is just as critical to your quality of life.
Because taking on too much doesn't just exhaust your body, it actively damages the relationship itself.
Exactly. Psychologists refer to this dynamic as the nurse trap.
The danger of slipping from being a partner in life to becoming an unpaid nurse.
Yes. When you adopt a pure caretaking approach, you can unintentionally demote your partner living with Parkinson's into a helpless patient role.
Even if you're just trying to be nice.
Right. Out of love and a desire to help, you start stripping them of responsibilities and tasks that they are actually still fully capable of handling, even if those tasks take a bit longer than they used to.
Okay, but I have to push back on the emotional reality of this again.
Fair enough.
It must be agonizing to literally sit on your hands and watch the person you love struggle. I mean, if your wife is fighting for 5 minutes just to button her shirt or taking 3 times as long to chop a vegetable for dinner, the deepest, most visceral human instinct is to step in.
To just take over and fix it.
Yeah, fix it immediately to spare them the frustration. How do you not do that?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, jumping in to fix it is actually highly detrimental to their brain chemistry.
Wait, their brain chemistry, how?
Because one of the most destructive non-motor symptoms of Parkinson's is apathy. It is driven by a lack of dopamine in the brain's motivation centers.
Dopamine.
Right. Dopamine isn't just the pleasure chemical, which is how we usually think of it. It is the friction-overcoming chemical. It rewards the brain for completing difficult tasks.
Oh, wow. So when you take the task away...
When you constantly swoop in to do everything, you rob their brain of that necessary dopamine reward for effort.
That is wild.
Letting them do what they can, even if it takes significantly longer, physically fights off that chemical apathy. It promotes their physical agency, preserves their dignity, and simultaneously saves you from burning out.
Win-win. But navigating when to step in and when to step back requires incredible communication. The clinical guidelines suggest setting up what they call an open dialogue trap.
Right. Highly recommended.
You sit down during a calm, non-stressful moment. So definitely not while they're actively struggling with a button, and you explicitly agree on the rules of engagement.
You ask them what they prefer.
Exactly. You ask, hey, do you want me to help you with your coat when you struggle, or do you want me to wait until you specifically ask for my help? You decide together, as partners, when intervention is truly necessary.
And that equal partnership really extends to avoiding the friction that comes with the daily management of the disease, too.
Like medication times.
Yes. Arguing over medication times is a massive drain on the relationship. The recommendation is to completely remove the human element from nagging.
Do not become the medication police.
Do not do it. Rely on neutral tools instead. Smartphone reminders, vibrating watches, or automated pill dispensers.
Because if the watch vibrates, it's the watch telling them to take the levodopa, not you.
Exactly. It promotes their independence and completely removes you from the role of the antagonist.
Another really cool strategy to maintain that equal footing is how you handle medical visits. The data suggests that before a neurology appointment, both you and your partner should separately rank your top 3 concerns.
I love this strategy.
It's so smart. Then you sit down and compare those lists. It's a reality check to see if your priorities align, ensuring your observations as a care partner are documented, but without overriding your partner's own voice and autonomy.
And preserving their dignity and voice leads directly into how you communicate with them on a daily basis.
The actual words you use.
Yes, the specific words you use and the time you intentionally spend together will dictate whether the disease eventually swallows your shared identity.
The psychosocial data outlines these empathetic language protocols. They're often referred to as the Big 16.
The Big 16, right.
And these are guidelines designed to replace standard, everyday platitudes. Because the things we just say automatically to be polite completely fail in the landscape of a chronic degenerative illness.
They really do.
For example, you should absolutely avoid saying, "You don't look sick," or the classic, "I know exactly how you feel."
Because saying, "I know how you feel," immediately shuts down their experience. You don't actually know how they feel.
You can't.
And telling someone you don't look sick is often intended as a compliment, right? A way to offer hope. But to someone with Parkinson's, it is incredibly invalidating.
Because it minimizes the hidden symptom.
Exactly. It minimizes this vast array of hidden symptoms they are battling every day. Internal tremors, severe nerve pain, cellular fatigue, gastrointestinal paralysis. Just because their hand isn't visibly shaking doesn't mean their nervous system isn't under siege.
So what's a better alternative?
An empathetic alternative would be something like, "I'm so glad to see you. How has your week been feeling for you?"
feeling for you.
Yes, it acknowledges their internal reality without making any assumptions based on their outward appearance.
So what does this all mean? Saying you don't look sick to someone with Parkinson's is kind of like watching a duck gliding super smoothly across the pond, right?
Okay, I see where you're going.
You tell the duck they look so peaceful and great, but you're completely ignoring how frantically they have to paddle beneath the surface just to keep moving forward.
That's exactly it. Or like walking past a beautifully painted house and congratulating the owner on how pristine it looks, completely ignoring the fact that inside the walls, the electrical wiring is actively sparking.
Short-circuiting and threatening to burn the place down.
Yes, you are complementing the drywall while they are fighting an electrical fire.
Wow. Complementing the drywall while fighting a fire.
And it's that exact internal electrical fire that makes another common phrase so deeply alienating. When people say, "You're going to be fine."
Oh, man. We say that all the time.
We do. We say it to comfort ourselves as much as the other person. But Parkinson's is a lifelong progressive condition. Saying, "You'll be fine," treats a highly complex, degenerative reality with toxic positivity.
It just shuts down their legitimate fears about the future.
Exactly. You have to replace those hollow platitudes with genuine presence.
And the clinical data focuses heavily on preserving the core of the relationship through what they call the "darling, I am here" concept.
Yes, being present.
This is the mandate to keep your roles as partners first and patient caregiver second. It is imperative, not optional, but medically imperative to develop a strict habit of participating in joyful activities completely outside of the daily caregiving tasks.
You need to be talking about something other than levodopa dosages.
And physical therapy schedules and doctor appointments, just talk about anything else.
This raises an important question, though. How do you practically ensure the disease doesn't erase the story of your relationship?
It takes work.
It takes fierce intentionality. The answer lies in carving out time to share dreams, to listen to each other without judgment, and to focus on mutual emotional support.
Engaging in shared hobbies, laughing together, watching a movie.
Right, or just listening to music. These are not luxuries that you get to if you somehow find the time. The medical literature views these moments as a prescribed mechanism.
Like taking a pill.
Essentially, yes. They naturally release dopamine and oxytocin in both of your brains. They sustain the emotional bond that makes the heavy lifting of caregiving bearable over the long haul.
We have covered incredible ground today. I mean, if we distill all of this clinical and psychosocial data down, the survival guide for a care partner is actually incredibly clear.
It really is.
First, you have to respect the physical reality of the caregiver burden continuum. You simply cannot outlove a biological breakdown driven by chronic cortisol.
You can't fight biology.
Right. Second, you must ruthlessly apply the oxygen mask rule. Schedule your respite in ink and delegate specific micromissions to your backup team.
Get frank to the barber.
Get a frank to the barber. Third, you have to avoid the nurse trap by letting your partner struggle just a little bit to maintain their dopamine pathways and their independence.
Put down the pill reminders.
Let the watch do it. And finally, you must fiercely protect the joy and the identity of your relationship outside of the shadow of the disease.
For anyone listening who is in this role right now, please hear that your well-being is not a secondary concern. It's not a selfish luxury. Your physical and mental health is the very foundation that makes living with this disease possible for your family.
If the foundation crumbles, everything falls.
Everything.
Which brings us to a final thought for you to take away today. We spent this entire deep dive talking about radical self-care, putting on your own oxygen mask, and protecting your own biology. And honestly, it forces us to ask a difficult question about how we define love itself.
It really challenges our assumptions.
Society often tells us that true unconditional love means limitless self-sacrifice, right? Giving until you have absolutely nothing left. But what if this medical reality proves the exact opposite? What if true unconditional love actually requires fiercely guarding your own boundaries so that you actually survive long enough to keep loving them? Take care of your foundation today.